guys, it's November favorites time. It is a blisteringly hot day so far. It's only what, like 10:30 in the morning, and I am sweating. I'm not wearing any pants. Starting with makeup, always start with makeup. The first thing, and you probably can predict that I'm going to be featuring these because I've been using them in pretty much all of my tutorials from this month. And first is the Arbonne makeup primer. So it's just called makeup primer. And this is, as I said in one of my tutorials during the month, it's very similar to the MAC Prep and Prime Skin Base. It's a gel, it's very, very silicone-y and very slippy. So I really quite like that in a primer because I do have kind of pores, quite open pores around my nose, and I do feel like it really smooths over the look of those pores, and it also makes whatever foundation you put on top just slip on really easy. Now, if my skin was a little bit oilier, I've told you all before that my skin has begun to kind of dry up a little bit in the last few months. So if my skin was still on the oily side, I probably wouldn't like this as much, because even though I think silicone products are kind of aimed at people with oily skin, if you've got very oily skin, it's just too slippy. You kind of need something that sets, and this doesn't set. But for my kind of more combination skin that I have at the moment, this is really, really working very, very well. And then you can probably predict the next one. It is the Arbonne Perfecting Liquid Foundation. This is a really, really beautiful foundation. It's very full coverage and very, very liquidy. It's not as liquidy as like the Armani Maestro. That's almost a water texture. It's a little bit thicker than that, but certainly not as thick as, say, a MAC Studio Fix Fluid, or I'm having a serious mental blank with foundations, or any kind of creamy foundation. It's just a little bit thinner, but it's super duper duper pigmented. So it doesn't really feel like you're wearing anything. It feels very light on, and you can really buff it in, and you still get great coverage, but it doesn't look heavy. And this color is a really, really good match for my skin. It's the color Fair. One criticism is just it's a little bit too yellow, but you don't really notice it once you kind of blend it down onto the neck. Like, I'm wearing it today, and I mean, if you really look closely, you can see that it is a little bit more yellow than my skin, but it's not terribly noticeable. And like, I'm just so pink anyway, so it's just impossible almost to match my skin. It kind of sets to a satin finish. It's kind of satin matte. It's definitely not shiny. And I've worn this on days without powdering, and it's lasted really well. So again, on my combination skin, it doesn't tend to go that shiny. So yeah, just a really lovely foundation, and I love the packaging. I just think it looks a lot more expensive than it is. This is about, I think, 55 Australian dollars, which is fairly reasonable for a foundation in Australia, considering Revlon Colorstay is about 30 something. I think L'Oreal foundations are around the 30 mark as well. So it kind of sits in between a drugstore foundation and a high-end foundation price-wise. Next for makeup is not a new product by any stretch of the imagination. In fact, this is quite an old product, but it's kind of a rediscovery for me. And it is MAC's Angel lipstick, and that is what I'm wearing right now. I'm going to put a little bit more on, actually. Angel, what texture is Angel? It's a frost. Weird. It so does not look like a frost. It's like the least frosty frost that MAC do. But Angel is one of their oldest colors. It's been around for years, but it's a lovely, natural, soft pink, beautiful bridal color, beautiful bridesmaid color, beautiful everyday color, just for a little bit of color in your lips, but nothing too strong. It's not nude. It's not like pink. It just sits somewhere in between, and on my really pale skin, it looks beautiful. Obviously, if you've got a darker skin, it's going to show up a little bit lighter, a little bit more nude. But yeah, it's one of those lipsticks I've had for so long and just never really worn myself, but I've used it in a few tutorials this month, and I gotta say, I really like it. And frost textures are quite creamy on. They're not as creamy as Amplified or Cream Sheen, but they don't dry out your lips at all. And yeah, they feel quite comfortable, and they're quite good for staying on too. And it doesn't do that horrible like white ring around my lips that a lot of frosty textures do tend to do, especially MAC Frosts. It kind of wears away quite evenly. Yeah, you don't have that like scummy white ring. Ugh, not good. Finally, for makeup is a product that has only just launched, but they sent this out to me at the start of the month, and I haven't been able to use it in a video because I didn't want to use it before it was actually available. And it is a new palette from Zoeva. It's called their Mixed Metals. So it's, oh, I just love the packaging. It's kind of like geometric camouflage or something, but all of the shades are metallic, and it's just a really lovely selection of shades. You kind of have the warmer ones on the top, so you've got from kind of a warm purple across through khakis and golds to copper, and then on the bottom you have kind of more silvery. Some of them are really unusual colors, like this one, platinum, is almost like a silver green. It's like a jade kind of color, and then aluminium is like slightly purpley silver. Just, they're colors that I haven't really seen in other palettes, and the texture is divine. It's that kind of creamy metallic, you know, it almost feels like there's moisture in it when you put it on your finger, and then it blends very, very easily, and just super duper duper pigmented. I did use another Zoeva palette in a recent tutorial, the Rodeo Belle palette, and I found that the matte shades in the palette just weren't really up to scratch. They weren't really sticking to my eye that well, so I had to switch and start using MAC eyeshadows in the tutorial. These though are just divine. I think again because they're metallic, I think metallic eyeshadows are easier to get right. But yeah, just for the selection of colors, like just, you could do some really interesting eye looks with this. And none of them are like crazy in your face bright, you know, they're not like garish. They're quite, I don't know, quite muted, but still unusual. Yes, really quite like that. Next, I just have a totally random product, so I'm going to throw that one in. I wrote a blog post about this a few weeks ago, so if you want to know a little bit more about it, I'll have that linked down below. But this is a product called Gel Off, and the brand is Eliona. So I'm not even sure if that's how you pronounce it. It's an Australian company, really, really small company. They're fairly new. I think it's just run by 2 women. And this is the only product that they sell for the moment. But it's basically a gel polish remover, and it's in gel form. It's just like the cleverest idea. It's one of those ideas I really wish that I'd come up with myself. So basically it's nail polish remover that's viscous. So what you do, I'm not going to demonstrate it because I don't want to take my nail polish off, but you literally squeeze the product onto your nails, and it's quite thick and it sits on your nails. So you just like squeeze it onto all your nails, and then you just kind of let it sit there. It says, I think 45 seconds to let the product kind of activate, and then you take an orange stick and scrape, and it takes the gel off. Now you do need to do it a couple of times, probably the same way that you would need to use acetone a few times. It's not going to kind of get it off in one go. But just, it's a lot easier than the traditional cotton wool, tin foil, you know, acetone. That's just a pain in the bum to do because you're kind of stuck with, you know, tinfoil in your hands and you can't do anything. So it's a great product to use if you still want to be able to use your hands. Like you can still kind of type on a computer with the stuff. It's quite thick, so it doesn't like melt off your hands or anything. Yeah, I just thought it was a really clever product. If you're into gel or shellac polish manicures, that's the one kind of drawback from them, is just how difficult it is to remove them. And I, for one, I'm not going to pay a salon to take it off for me. So I do like to do it myself, but it's just, sometimes it can take an hour to take it off. So it's a bit quicker, a bit easier, you know, not quite as fussy using this stuff. So at the moment they do sell in a few salons, like very few salons. As I said, it's a very new product, and they do sell from their website as well, but it is only in Australia for the moment. So if this is a product that you are interested in, I would say send them an email and just say, look, I live in such and such a country and I want to try it. And maybe if they get more demand, they will start stocking elsewhere. It's just still so new. Next, I have a product that I actually think I have already mentioned in a favorites video before, but I just wanted to mention it again because I love it so much. And yeah, I've just really been loving it this month. The weather has been getting really hot, as I said at the start of the video, and I get like the sweaty forehead and I do get oily scalp. I get it all the time, regardless of the weather being hot, but it's especially bad when the weather's hot. So dry shampoo is my savior, and my favorite dry shampoo of all time is the Toni & Guy dry shampoo. I went about a month without this stuff, and I was using up other dry shampoos that I had, kind of cheaper brands, and they just weren't doing it for me. In fact, there was a dry shampoo that I think irritated my scalp, but I shall not name names. But this stuff is like my holy grail dry shampoo. It doesn't have any colour in it, so if you have dark hair, it shouldn't be a problem. You don't get that ashy kind of white cast in your hair. It smells divine. I love the smell of Toni & Guy products. The last time I mentioned that in a video though, a few people did say that they hate it, so it's obviously you either love it or you hate it. It is strong, so maybe give it a sniff before you buy it. But it just does a great job of taking away the greasiness. It gives you an extra bit of like grittiness and volume and texture, and just does everything that I want my dry shampoo to do. And it's not terribly expensive. It's about $15 for a tin. which, you know, in Australia, that's pretty average for that kind of thing. And then finally, I'm going to end it on a bum note. I have one product that I really did not like that much this month, and it's a mascara. It's the new Max Factor Masterpiece Transform. I don't know if this is new the whole world over, but it is new to Australia. And they say it's a high impact volumizing mascara. And it's one of the mascaras that has a plastic kind of comb type wand. It's quite an unusual wand. And usually I do like those kind of mascaras. Like CoverGirl Clump Crusher has that kind of a wand where it's like plastic little nubbins rather than bristles, if that makes sense. But for some reason this just didn't work for me. It kind of clumped all my eyelashes together so that it looked like I had like five really dark and really dramatic eyelashes, but I like to have a million dark dramatic eyelashes, so it just didn't really work for me. I think like the little comb, or the teeth in the comb, are too wide apart, so it's just like forcing all the lashes to stick together, which I'm not really sure who that would be good for. And the formula is very wet as well, so yeah, just all over not a fan, and it doesn't build very well. And yeah, and you know, Max Factor, I have been educated, Max Factor and CoverGirl are the same. So you know I love CoverGirl mascaras, and I do like the Max Factor False Lash, which I think is the same as the CoverGirl, what is the name of that? Lash Blast? So I do like those mascaras, but this one is just a from me. And that is it for my November favorites. So let me know what you have been enjoying this month, whether it's makeup, beauty, whatever, anything at all. Let me know in the comments down below. I'd love to read it. I'm always looking to try out new things. I hope you had a wonderful November, and here's to an amazing December. Thank you so much for watching, guys, and we'll see you very soon. Bye. Eyebrows, just gonna comb my hair up first, and I'm going straight into eyeshadow today, going into Latte by Makeup Geek, which I used on my eyes.